Welcome back to Kids Church Online. This morning we are going to be hearing from Mrs. Michelle about a man called Ezekiel and how there is always hope in God. But of course, we are going to be starting off with a song and a dance. Now you might not have heard this song before because the Christian group only released it a few weeks ago during coronavirus, to remind us that even when things are a little bit crazy, confusing and scary, that there is still hope in God. So let's get up on our feet and let's dance!
When the world is hurting, when life is so confusing, I am sure of one thing, God's by my side, yeah. When I'm feeling lonely and I start to worry, I know God, you're near me and you're always by my side, yeah. And I can lift my hands up to you, I can raise my voice and sing. You are who I put all hope in, I will trust you in everything. There is hope. There is hope in the Lord, He is with me each day. I will trust in the day. I have hope in the Lord, He is mighty and good. There is hope in the Lord. When the world is hurting, when life is so confusing, I am sure of one thing, God, you're by my side, yeah. When I'm feeling lonely and I start to worry, yeah, I know God, you're near me and you're always by my side, oh. And I can lift my hands up to you, I can raise my voice and sing. You are who I put all hope in, I will trust you in everything. There is hope in the Lord, He is with me each day. I will trust in the day. I have hope in the Lord, He is mighty and good. There is hope in the Lord. There is hope in the Lord, He is with me each day. I will trust in the day. I have hope in the Lord, He is mighty and good. There is hope in the Lord. There is hope in the Lord, He is with me each day. I will trust in the day. I have hope in the Lord, He is mighty and good. There is hope in the Lord. There is hope, yeah. There is hope in the Lord, He is with me each day. I will trust in the day. I have hope in the Lord, He is mighty and good. There is hope in the Lord. Yeah. There is hope in the Lord. Yeah, yeah. There is hope in the Lord.
Hi kids, look what I've got. Pasta. I don't know if you can see that, but yum, pasta. No, that pasta is not quite right. It's not really like the pasta that your mom makes at home. But imagine if you take this hard, crunchy pasta that doesn't really taste like anything, and you put it into a pan of boiling water on the stove, and you boil it for about 20 minutes with some salt, and then you put it in a bowl and you put some cream and some pieces of bacon and some grated cheese on it. Oh, yum! Then the pasta is really, really good and everyone enjoys it. Now you might be thinking, why is Mrs. Michelle giving us recipes? Are we on MasterChef? No, Mrs. Michelle does not do MasterChef. But I'm talking about the dry pasta to remind us of a story in the Bible. It's a story about a man who was a prophet, and his name was Ezekiel. Now, a prophet is someone that tells people what God wants them to know. He gets a message from God and he shares it with the people. And this man, Ezekiel, was one of the children of Israel. Now, we've talked about Israelites many times in Sunday school, and we know how they were God's special people. But after many years of disobeying God and worshiping idols and doing the wrong thing, God allowed them to be captured by the Babylonians and taken away as prisoners and slaves. It was a very dark, sad time for the children of Israel, and Ezekiel was among them as they were taken away into captivity. Then one day, God sent Ezekiel a special vision. And in the vision, he took Ezekiel to a valley full of bones, hard, dry bones, a bit like my hard, dry macaroni. And these bones were scattered all over the valley. They were hard, not really bendable, not soft, not fresh. And all these dry bones were everywhere in the valley. And then God said to Ezekiel, Ezekiel, are these bones going to live? And straight away Ezekiel thought, a trick question. Are these bones going to live? And you know, sometimes God asks questions that are a bit hard, and we have to stop and think, I wonder. And sometimes we have questions that are a bit hard, and we have to stop and think about it. We might ask questions like, why do we have to be in isolation? Why can't we come back to church and Sunday school? Why are so many people getting sick? These are really hard questions. But Ezekiel knew the answer. He said, Lord, only you know. Only you know the answer to that. And that's a really good answer to the hard questions. God knows the answer. So when God asked Ezekiel, are these dry, dead, yucky bones ever going to come to life again? Ezekiel thought, only God knows the answer. And that's what he said. So then God told Ezekiel to speak to the bones. God said to say these words, dry bones, listen to the word of the Lord. I am going to put flesh and skin on you, and you will return to life. I will make breath enter you and make you live again. So Ezekiel spoke to the bones just as God instructed. And there was a big rattling sound as all the bones began to come together. And the arms joined together, and the legs joined together, and all the ribs joined together. And all the bones stood up and started moving around. And then God put flesh over the bones, and God put muscles in the right places, and God covered it all with skin. And then God said to Ezekiel, command the wind to come and blow on the bones. And so Ezekiel called for the wind to come just as God had said, and the wind came, and as it blew, the breath of God entered all those bodies, and they all came to life. A whole crowd of men stood there praising God and shouting for joy. No more dry bones in the valley, but now people praising God and singing and rejoicing that he had brought them life. And when this vision was finished, Ezekiel knew there had to be a meaning to it. There had to be something more than just a funny dream. And then God explained to Ezekiel the bones in the valley represented the people of Israel, all dried up and sad and out of hope. They had no hope for their future. Everything was sad and dark. But then God gave Ezekiel a message of hope, that one day God would bring his people out of captivity and back to their own land. And then there would be singing and rejoicing and celebrating as they came back to their land again. That's joyful and hopeful. The sad, dark times are not forever. God always sends us hope. God never abandons his people, and he has not abandoned any of us as we had to stay at home and wait for this all to be finished. God is still in control of us. He's always working for our good. He can make good things happen even out of the hardest times. When everything seems hopeless, remember that God brings you hope. Hope is expecting that God is faithful and will always keep his promises, and he'll make everything work together for good. So Ezekiel woke up from his vision, and he was still in captivity. He was still a prisoner and a slave in the land of Babylon, but he knew that someday God's people would be free again, and he had hope. Now, when you finish with the story and you want to do something a bit crafty, you can make your own little hope to remind you. I used my pasta from home and I glued it to make the word hope. Now you know that Mrs. Michelle is not a very crafty person, and I'll bet lots of you could do a really, really good job. And maybe you could take photos of it, and when we get back together, we can all have a look at our hope words. But we used the dry pasta to remind us of the hard bones that had no life in them. And we put glitter on it to remind us that the breath of God filled them with hope and life. And we remember that we always have a hope, no matter how hard things get. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Bye.
Ezekiel cried down dry bones. Ezekiel cried down dry bones. Ezekiel cried down dry bones. Oh, hear the word of the Lord. The foot bone connected to the
Leg bone,
the leg bone connected to the
knee bone,
knee bone connected to the
thigh bone,
thigh bone connected to the
backbone,
backbone connected to the
neck bone,
neck bone connected to the
head bone.
oh, hear the word of the Lord.
Them bones gonna
Man, them bones is walking.
Them bones gonna
They just walking around.
Them bones gonna walk around.
Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
The head bone connected to
Neck bone,
the neck bone connected to
backbone,
the backbone connected to
thigh bone,
the thigh bone connected to
knee bone,
the knee bone connected to
leg bone,
the leg bone connected to the
foot bone.
Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
Oh, hear the word of the Lord. Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
Do you reckon you got the hang of the actions now? We're going to do it once more.
Ezekiel cried down dry bones. Ezekiel cried down dry bones. Ezekiel cried down dry bones. Oh, hear the word of the Lord. The foot bone connected to the
Leg bone,
leg bone connected to the
knee bone,
knee bone connected to the
thigh bone,
thigh bone connected to the
backbone,
backbone connected to the
neck bone,
neck bone connected to the
head bone.
oh, hear the word of the Lord.
Them bones gonna
Man, them
walk around.
bones is walking.
Them bones gonna
They
walk
just
around.
walking around.
Them bones gonna walk around.
Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
The head bone connected to
Neck bone,
the neck bone connected to
backbone,
the backbone connected to
thigh bone,
the thigh bone connected to
knee bone,
the knee bone connected to
leg bone,
the leg bone connected to
foot bone.
Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
Oh, hear the word of the Lord. Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope you've had fun singing and dancing and learning about Ezekiel and how there's always hope in God. Don't forget to make your hope signs made out of pasta, take a picture of them, and bring them into Sunday school next time we're together. We can't wait to see them all. Now that first song we sung was pretty awesome, wasn't it? I reckon to finish off today, we should get back up on our feet and dance and sing again.
When the world is hurting, when life is so confusing, I am sure of one thing, God's by my side, yeah. When I'm feeling lonely and I start to worry, I know God, you're near me and you're always by my side, yeah. And I can lift my hands up to you, I can raise my voice and sing. You are who I put all hope in, I will trust you in